Joining me now is Representative Sherrill of New Jersey, a former Navy helicopter pilot and a member of the Armed Services Committee. Representative Ted Lieu of California, a former active duty officer in the U.S. Air Force and current reservist. And Claire Mccaskill, former U.S. Senator out of Missouri. Thank you all for being here. And Congresswoman Sherrill, I want to go to you first. You know, Donald Trump, he sent a lot of people out to defend him, including the current defense secretary who wasn't in the job until the following summer. A lot of people who weren't there. Steve Mnuchin, who wasn't there. What do you make of these denials, and how did they hit you personally when you read or heard about what the Atlantic's reporter found out?
Well, Joy, as you discussed, this isn't the first time the president has denigrated service or service members. We've seen it with his comments on John McCain and his powerful example of how you serve when you're captured as a POW, and the fact that you follow the rules of war and you don't accept the enemy letting you go for special favors, and you stay even if you have ejection injuries and are tortured for 5 more years. That's something that speaks to people who serve. That's something that spoke to me as I learned about it at the Naval Academy. We've heard him denigrate Gold Star families. And I have to say, many of us who serve, the ultimate sacrifice is not giving our lives to our country. That's something a lot of us signed up to do and are proud to do. It's really the families we leave behind. It's our mothers and our fathers and our sisters and our brothers and children who will grow up without parents. So we take care of our Gold Star families, and to hear the president even denigrate them is really beyond the pale, and I believe he's unfit to be the commander-in-chief.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke with Khizr Khan last week, who lost his son in Iraq, and he expressed some of the same sentiments. I mean, we heard the same things. Congressman Lieu, you know, this isn't even like a news story. I mean, the thing about this, one of our great producers who worked on this segment said, you know, during one of our calls today, that the only thing that's surprising is how surprised people are acting. I mean, there's a book out in which Donald Trump, this is Philip Rucker and Carol Leonnig, wrote a book, these two great reporters, called A Very Stable Genius, in which Trump is said to have berated generals in 2017, calling them dopes and babies, telling them, you're all losers. You don't know how to win anymore. I wouldn't go to war with you people. You're a bunch of dopes and babies. So it's not like this is like something he hasn't done before. What do you think made this resonate in a different way than those other reports?
Thank you, Jory, for your question. You're absolutely right. This is not an isolated incident. And first of all, it is appalling that anyone would think that American service members who gave their lives in war are somehow losers and suckers. But for these words to come from the President of the United States is absolutely demoralizing to our active duty military. Imagine if you're deployed on the front lines in Afghanistan and you hear about this, or if you're a Gold Star family and you lost a family member to war. So Donald Trump must apologize. The fact that everyone who was around him at the time is silent and not denying this, I think speaks volumes. I do hope that John Kelly and other generals do speak out, but we don't need them to speak out to know that this is true. And we know it's true because Donald Trump again went after the military just this weekend when he attacked military generals for somehow being warmongers. That's exactly the opposite. I serve on active duty, and it's been my experience that commanders and our military leadership don't want to go to war because they know the horrors of war.
And, you know, Claire, you know, so one of the people that was sent out and has been out, you know, flacking for her former boss is, of course, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's pretty much ride or die, you know, for whatever it is Donald Trump does. I found a very interesting little piece of her interview on The View this morning. Watched the segment with her. And at one point, Joy Behar asks her a very important question, because she's out there saying it didn't happen, it didn't happen, it didn't happen. She was indeed on the trip. But just take a listen to this little clip.
Question. I want to clear something up with you, because I think I heard you say that you don't believe the Jeffrey Goldberg article because you were there. Is that correct?
Correct. The incident that they were specifically talking about, I was there for that discussion.
Okay, so my question is, when General Kelly was at Arlington Cemetery standing next to Trump looking at his son's graveside, and Trump allegedly said, what did they get out of it? Were you there for that?
I was not standing next to the president for that, no.
Okay,
but I have stood next to the president
there, but you weren't
and
there all
General
the time.
Kelly.
I mean, Claire, she's the one person who was there who's trying to defend. I think there have been some other people who were on the trip. But there's no one who was literally standing there listening to Donald Trump talk to General Kelly or General Dunford that has defended him. What does it say to you that those people are silent, that they're not coming out? Because they could easily say, they're not being political. They could just say, what a horrible thing to say about the commander-in-chief. He didn't say it. They're not saying it.
Well, first of all, I love being on a panel with these two wonderful people who served. I was on the Armed Services Committee for 12 years, Joy, and I will tell you the military leadership that has been maligned last week. You know, it's so funny because Trump spends days saying, oh, I didn't criticize the military, and then has a press conference and criticize the active duty military leadership. And people who serve in the military know the people that are the leaders of the military, they are not political. They have come up through the ranks. They have seen the horrors of war personally, both by losing people and fighting. So you take a guy like John Kelly. He does not want to be political. But his silence is deafening right now. And I guarantee you that it means something. And here's what I would say to Sarah Huckabee. Well, this was about commemorating American soldiers, this cemetery in Paris. Why were the other world leaders there? How did they manage to get there? Why was the rain not a problem for them? Why was the leadership of Germany and Canada and all of our allies, why were every single one of them at that cemetery, but Donald Trump wasn't? That's the question I'd like to have Sarah Huckabee Sanders answer. Why are all those leaders, why did they think it was important and Donald Trump didn't?
Yeah, let alone the fact that he did find time for Vladimir Putin. I mean, literally, Congresswoman Sherrill, I mean, the French army was tweeting out photos of people riding their bikes in that exact same rain. I mean, it just isn't plausible. And he was mocked for it at the time. Meanwhile, another little interesting nugget of information, because in the defense of Donald Trump, this is what his campaign is doing. One of their campaign staffers, somebody named Francis Brennan, tweeted out, Mr. Vice President, come talk to us. This is Joe Biden, who just keeps meandering along. This is a tweet from the Trump campaign. Now, this was Joe Biden, who has lost a son, not in combat, but his son served his country and died of cancer, his oldest son. And Biden made a visit to St. Joseph's, to a church in Wilmington, Delaware, where Beau Biden, his son, is buried. And you can see, we're going to show the video here of it, because this is what the Trump campaign mocked as Biden meandering and trying to make him look like there's something wrong with him, when he really was just literally walking to see his son's grave. What do you make of that? I mean, even the campaign is participating in mocking Joe Biden, who has actually felt the loss of a son. He didn't die in combat, but, you know, what do you make of that, Congresswoman?
I think, like most Americans, I have no idea what to make of that. To have a parent visiting the grave of their child, something that I hope I personally never have to experience, being somehow mocked. I mean, again and again, you just wonder, where's the empathy? Where's the concern for other people? Where's the leadership to bring this country together when we're all hurting so badly from this pandemic? It's really strikingly lacking.
And Claire, to go back to you just for one moment, because you knew Senator McCain. I'm sure that you guys had your clashes on policy, back and forth, et cetera. And Donald Trump still can't let it go. He cannot let him go. Here he is again. This is Donald Trump on McCain. This was on Monday, on Labor Day.
I've always been on the opposite side of John McCain. John McCain liked wars. I will be a better warrior than anybody, but when we fight a war, we're going to win them. And frankly, I was never a fan of John McCain. You know that. So this is not somebody, am I supposed to say, what a wonderful guy?
John McCain is dead. He can't let it go. And he hasn't even ended any of these wars. He's increased the number of troops who are deployed overseas. So that's not even You've been in tough campaigns, Claire. Does this make any sense to you whatsoever for this to be the strategy?
No. And I you know, it's so hard to listen to him denigrate John McCain. John McCain and I were friends. We didn't agree on a lot, but we were friends. And as the Congresswoman said, people need to understand John McCain's history. You know, his family was revered in the Navy, and father was an admiral at the time he was a prisoner of war, and they wanted to let him out. They wanted to let him go. And he said, no, I'm not leaving without my fellow captured soldiers or captured sailors. I'm not leaving without the others. And he stayed. Now, compare and contrast that to this jerk in the White House who actually said that fighting sexually transmitted diseases was his personal Vietnam. And this jerk who refuses to confront Putin over putting a bounty on American soldiers, that's what America's military is hearing right now. That's the commander-in-chief they've got. That's why his numbers are plummeting with active military right now. And he may be the first Republican in my lifetime to not capture the majority of votes of the active military in the United States.
And Congressman Lieu, I'm going to give you the last word on this because, you know, even the attacks on the mail could hurt overseas military personnel who have to vote by mail. It just sort of never ends. I wonder if you, I don't know. I'm just going to give you the last word.
Oh, thank you, Joy. Senator Mccaskill is absolutely right. Donald Trump is likely going to be the first Republican president in a long time to lose a vote of the active duty military. Based on a recent poll, more active duty troops support Joe Biden than Donald Trump. Representative Sherrill and I were talking about this a few days ago. That's unheard of. When we served, we never would have seen this happen. And that's because the active duty military understands what Donald Trump has done. He has weakened the United States foreign policy. He has disparaged the military. He still refuses to condemn Putin for placing a bounty on the heads of U.S. troops. And even today, he cannot say a single sentence that is against Vladimir Putin. So the U.S. military troops are watching this, and they understand that Donald Trump is not fit to be commander-in-chief.
Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, Congressman Ted Lieu, former Senator Claire Mccaskill, thank you all very much. And up next on the ReadOut.